is the recipient of cash award of rupees 10 lakhs from the Finance Ministry of his achievements. After retirement, he was appointed as Interim Ombudsman at Kochi, which jurisdiction of over Kerala and Lakshadweep in 2014. In August 2017, he was appointed as IPO for Kochi Shipyard Limited.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my great pride, privilege, and pleasure to introduce a multifaceted personality like Dr. Vora, who is better known as Ambassador Vora. If I have introduced him with all his accomplishments and achievements, it will take more than 1 hour. I will be highlighting only the important milestones of his career as well as life. He had his education in the most prestigious institutions of India and abroad, and was a topper throughout. He joined the prestigious Indian Foreign Service in the year 1973 and also was a topper there. He served as India diplomat in many countries including USA, France, Spain, Vietnam, Tunisia, Poland, Sudan, Armenia, etc. He speaks the languages of all the countries where he has served. So now I have a request to the ambassador. He has been to Kerala 4 or 5 times. So next time when he comes, he should also pick up Malayalam and speak a few words. Because he has got the ability to do so. After superannuation, he became busier than ever with vast international experience, deep knowledge of developmental issues of emerging nations, and his oratorial skills gave him challenging assignments across the globe. He was advisor to the government of South Sudan in July 2011, special advisor to Prime Minister of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau and Kingdom of Lesotho of South Africa. He was also OSD to the Technology Advisor of Government of India, and he is presently the special advisor to Autonomous Skill Development Council in Ladakh. He spent 4 years with Sulabh International, world's largest NGO dealing with sanitation. Armenia awarded him a gold medal and named a school after him. Sudan gave him his highest civilian award and made him Prince of an African birth. Here also I wish that he gets some award like Padma Shri from the Government of India in short future. He is presently researching the role of trust as a core value across cultures. He is in the boards of universities and corporates and gives lectures in the national and international fora. He has authored a number of best-selling books. To put it in a nutshell, he is the most efficient, dynamic and handsome celebrity diplomat India ever had, and the most efficient foreign minister India never had. With these few words, I formally introduce Sri Ambassador Vora to this august audience. And I have one more point to make, which is not in the biodata written, it is from the interaction that I knew. See, all of us here in Kerala speak very high about Kochosar Chitlappalli for the great sacrifice he did by donating one of his kidneys. And Ambassador Vora has done this 10 years before, and he does not want to proclaim to others. Thank you very much.
Right. Good. Thank you very much. Everyone sit down all over. My name is Deepak Vora. I'm not as intelligent as the other speakers who came, but I'm not better looking. Everyone sit down. Sit down. Thank you very much. And stay away from your mobile phone. We just hold the leader of the country that is troubling us and send for the next 30 minutes before we travel. Don't worry about your Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is. Thank you, sir, for this kind introduction. President of Thrissur Management Association, executive members, distinguished guests, and the pride of Thrissur and Kerala that sits in front of us. One of the things that was not mentioned in the introduction, my biodata, is that 46 years ago, I also acted in 2 commercial films. And both of them were super flops. One producer went to a mental asylum. The other fellow, we don't know where he is, he hasn't given me my money. So for the next 20 minutes, we are going to talk about how our world is likely to be in 15 years from now, 10 years from now. Now this, when I'm speaking, is called the graveyard slot. After you had a good meal, it's the end of the day, this is what everybody think today we are seeing some phenomenal changes in the world. The old system is dying. The new system is struggling. It is not yet born. Before we go any further, sir, this is for all the young people here. I have a world quiz. Just 3 questions out of 15. All of you please answer. How many people in the world do you think have electricity? 20%, 50 or 90%? Come on. The whole world, including the poor countries. 50? 50 is the center. Good. How many of the world's children have been vaccinated against some disease? 20, 50 or 90? Whole world, poor countries included. 20? Good. How many children born after 2011? After 2011 will reach their 100th birthday? 2%? Very low. Now we did the same quiz at a place called Davos in Switzerland, where all the world's ambassadors, prime ministers, presidents, business leaders, they all come and they talk about the world. We gave them 15 questions. Their success rate was 10%. 10% the people who decide to attend. Then we did it with monkeys in the zoo. We put 3 buttons. We said, hit any of the 3 buttons. We asked the question. The monkey's success rate was 35%. Monkeys were smarter than you guys. Your success rate is about 5%. Now I'll give you the correct answer. 90% of the world has electricity, 90% of the world's children have been vaccinated, and 33% of children born after 2011 will celebrate their 100th birthday. Why did you get it wrong? Because your information is based on what you read, what you hear, and what you see. All of us in our bodies, we are born with 2 kinds of genes, the positive genes and the negative genes. We have killed the positive genes. We have allowed the negative genes to determine our world. We are prepared to believe the worst. The reality is, the world is much better today than it was 100 years ago. So let's see what is shaping our world. Here we go. Let's take a look first at, what happened to the previous slide? Yeah, here it is. Sorry. This is made in China. It troubles me all the time. Right. The first mega trend. The developed countries are getting old. Nature spares nobody, at least not at this time. Western Europe, the median age, do you know what the median age is? Half the population is below that and half is above. In Western Europe, it's 44 years. How much? That means 1 out of 4 Western Europeans is above 44. Is above 60 years. 1 out of 4. In India, it's 1 out of 29. There it's 1 out of 4 is above 60 years. The Pope, not I, 5 years ago the Pope said Europe is an elderly and haggard continent. My teacher in the Sorbonne, a man called Alfred Sauvy, said, Europe will soon be an old continent of old people living in old homes discussing old ideas. In the last 30 years, not one innovation out of here. Number 1 most innovative country in the world, the United States. Number 2, surprise, surprise, Japan. Number 3, China. Number 4 in the IT sector, India. Clap. So what happens as demographic patterns shift? Economic power also changes. Take a look at the world's economies today. Not my figures, these are IMF figures for 2019. Purchasing power parity, you all understand, the first largest economy in the world. China, $23 trillion, the trillion has 12 zeros. How many zeros? 12 zeros. You multiply 23 by 70 and then add 12 zeros to get how many rupees? The second largest, what happened again, it's gone off. The second largest, thank you very much. China with 23 is the largest. United States with 19 is the second largest economy in the world. The third largest, you've probably heard of it. It's a country called India. And the fourth is Japan with $5.4 trillion. Where is Europe? Europe has gone to the Shukumori. what happens to military power. The equations get rebalanced. Take a look at world militaries 2019. Not my figures. These are figures from the United Nations, its agencies, and international organizations. Number one, the most powerful in the world today in terms of equipment, training, manpower, United States spend as much as the next 20 countries combined. The most powerful military in the world. Number two, Russia. Have you heard of it? They call themselves Asian. Just like of the world's four largest economies, leave out the United States, three are in Asia, China, India, and Japan. So here Russia says, I'm Asian. Uh-oh. And the third most powerful military in the world is China. The fourth is India. Three of the four most powerful militaries in the world, again in Asia. Where is Europe? Still in the toilet? Better find out if they are feeling well. Now, let's take a look at the fourth mega trend, which is exploding knowledge. More knowledge in the last 50 years than in the previous 5,000. Engineered intelligence, what you call artificial intelligence, it affects all aspects of your life, and the challenge we have today is climate change. Now, this is a phone my daughter gifted it to me. It's made by, it's that fellow who eats the fruit. What's it called? Apple. Yes, thank you very much. And these days, since I'm growing old, sometimes I forget where I am. So there's a program here called Mr. Siri. Have you heard of it? So I'm going to ask Siri where I am now. Yeah? Hey Siri, where am I now? You're in Crystal Kerala. Pretty good. Now let me keep an eye on my wife. Hey Siri, where's my wife now? Shut up! I said, please, I have only one wife, sir. I promise, I swear, I have only one. For 42 years, I've been married to her. The poverty has expired. I can't do anything. This girl says, which one? The artificial intelligence can be very dangerous. You have to be careful. Now, this is happening in our world. What about India? What can we see in India? Thank you, sir. Let's see what's happening in India. The first is the youthification of India. My dear kids, we have a median age of 28. Half of India's population, like you and I, is less than 28 years. And half, like the oldies in France, is more than 28. 1 billion people are in the working age group, 15 to 64 years. That produces more than it consumes. 1 billion Indians. We are producing more than we consume. Who can stop the rise of India? This is the world's largest population in any country, working every day. Take a look at our demographic window of opportunity. China is 37 years, the median age. They are aging. Japan is 47 years, the median age. They've forgotten how to make babies. We can teach them, we have the technology. Somebody told me India is not a productive country. I said, rubbish, we are a reproductive country. We are pretty good. USA 38, Western Europe 44, and 2 countries in Africa, Chad and Niger is 16. What do they do the whole day? You can go ask them. Median age is 16. You know the Mahabharata, some of you might have read it. Yudhishthira asks the Yaksha who has killed his 4 brothers, what is the world's most valuable possession? And the Yaksha answers, education or knowledge. Answer given in the Mahabharata. And so India is focusing on education. You kids sitting here, 50,000 universities and colleges in India today. How many? 50. And there were 500 in 1950. We have 15 lakh, 1.5 million schools. Half of India's 32 crore students. How many students? 32 crore. Half of them, a little more than half, are daughters of India. We were 7% literate in 1947. We are now over 80%, and in 3 years, we'll be 100%. Learning from Boston. You taught us what 100% literacy is. This is the best time to be an educated young person in India. Sir, I often hum this old song in Hindi. Koi lauta de mere bite hue din. May someone return my youth to me. I want to be young again. I want to be like you. Born in India as a young, educated person. Goldman Sachs says you will shape India's consumer story. I haven't said this. Have you heard of Goldman Sachs? The company, they say, you will shape India's consumer story, which will be the most compelling for the next 20 years. They understand your market, they understand your purchasing power. Who adopts new technologies more easily? Young people like you and I, or old people like those sitting here? Who? Come on, young people or old people? So when the world's youngest educated population meets the new technologies, India's regeneration is taking place. Who can stop us now? He hasn't been born yet. Who can challenge India's rise? You understand? Nobody in the world can do it. You're supposed to clap when I say that. Take a look at consumer spending. 96% of India's consumer spending. Forget about the economic slowdown. Number one is on looking better. Sir, you go to a beauty parlor? No? Your white does. There you are. 96%. Every village in India. I saw the latest figures. We have 600,000 villages. We have another 200,000 urban accommodations, less than a million. Would you believe it that we have 15 million barber shops and beauty parlors in the country? So less than a million centers of residence. We have 15 million barber shops and beauty centers in India. So everybody wants to look prettier. I mean, you can't reach my level, but you can try. The second thing we spend on is eating better. Have you got McDonald's here? Have you got Domino? Have you got Swiggy, Piggy, Tomato, Zomato? All these fellows do got. We are eating better. We are living better. We are connecting better. We have 1.6 billion mobile connections in India for a population of 1.3 billion. Sir, please turn around, Mr. President. Everybody turn around and look. How many of you kids have smartphones? Come on, be honest with me. How many of you have smartphones? Turn around and see. Turn around and see. Thank you, at least you're being honest. And now, one question. How many of you, like me, have dumb phones? I'm ashamed. Not even one. It goes up over that. 1.6 billion mobile connections, enjoying better, living better, and luxury. World Wealth Report 2019 says India's private wealth, $8.2 trillion. Trillion has 12 zeros. This is all the money that mommy and daddy keep in the locker and don't pay taxes on. And they say that in the next 8 years, you, my dear children, sons and daughters of India, you will hold individually twice as much wealth as the average British citizen or the average German citizen. Look at this. Who can stop you now? Come on, guys. Who can stop you? Look at the growing strength of India. Here's the next. Oh, this is a lovely cartoon 5 years ago, 6 years ago in The Economist. There's the I said, don't buy this made in China stuff. I'm telling you. The British, oh God, what happened here? The British Prime Minister meeting in front of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and this is Sonia Gandhi. This was from The Economist. This cartoon is my favorite. Again, it's from The Economist, and it says, the British Prime Minister is saying that, oh, what happened now? Okay, yeah. And the British Prime Minister, thank you very much. I think you guys are moving around with it over there. Okay, listen, I'll give you extra money. Please don't play with it. Okay, where are we now? Let's see. No, yeah. I'm only pressing it once. See? Okay, anyway, let it go. There's Dr. Manmohan Singh and Mrs. Gandhi sitting there, and the British Prime Minister is saying, please give me some money. Britain has no money, asking for money from India. That's why that Mr. Malaiwala, what's his name, sir? What is it? Malaya. And that Nina Modi? Nina Modi. And that chopsticks? No, chopsticks. What is his name? Chop Suey. Mr. Chop Suey also. All have run away with our money. They will all come back. Look at the mindset. They prefer to be in foreign jails rather than come back to India to defend themselves. I've never understood this. The fourth mega trend we are seeing in India is our rising global profile and self-confidence. In 2015, we introduced a resolution on yoga. Are you aware of this? In the UN, we have an International Day of Yoga. You know that. You practice it sometimes? The International Day is in June. 177 out of 193 members of the UN co-sponsored the resolution, the largest in the history of the United Nations. 177, the largest in the history of the United Nations. And one European ambassador in his speech said, "We support yoga because India is the spiritual mother of all mankind." Wow! India is the spiritual mother of all mankind. July 2015, civil war breaks out, sir, in Yemen. Nationals of 40 countries are trapped there. How many countries? 40 countries. And the Yemenis say only the Indian military can come to get them out. We will not allow the Chinese, the Americans, the Russians, the Germans, the French, only the Indians. We go in. We bring out hundreds of nationals of foreign countries. Same year I go to France for a conference in November of my university at the International Solar Alliance. The French immigration officer at the airport, sir, looks at my passport and says, "Ambassador of India?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, you brought so many dozen Frenchmen out of Yemen." I said, "If we make a mistake, we take them back. You tell us." He stands up there, salutes me, and says, "Thank you, India." He says, "Thank you, India, for bringing the French people out." Let me tell you another story. In 1969, when the Organization of Islamic Cooperation was formed, we were invited to the founding conference, but at the last moment, they told us not to attend the plenary session, the opening session. We were humiliated. We were booted out. 69. Exactly 50 years later, 2019, they tell us, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Islamic countries, tell us, please come as guests of honor for our 50th meeting. Look at India's strength that everybody understands now. Self-confidence rising. Sikkim devastated by an earthquake in September 2011. Do you remember it, sir? Sikkim, one of the most beautiful states in India, like Kerala. Practically destroyed. The capital city, Gangtok. Only one road, Siliguri, from West Bengal to Gangtok. I took the Doordarshan team. We went to film what was happening. Foreign countries said it would take us 6 weeks to reopen the road. We decided, the government asked the Indian Army, the border road. Have you heard of border roads? These are guys who build roads on the border. They were asked, can you try it? They reopened that road. We were told 6 weeks. Border roads reopened it in 19 hours. In 19 hours, the road had been reopened. Electricity grid collapsed in India in 2012. Everybody said, big superpower, they don't have the superpower, they can't give electricity. Nobody wrote that within a few hours we brought it back because we have the world's best technology. I don't know if you understand it. It's called Jugaad. Have you heard of it? We put a wire from there, join it together, and we bring it back. Here's one picture, sir. I want you to pay a bit of attention to. Yeah. Sir, this is a boy for the border roads working. He's drilling to reopen the road. You know how it's done. You drill, you put in the explosives, you blast, and then you move. And as you can see, the road is complete. It was a proper road, it has been completely smashed. There were a few like it. It's too painful for me to tell you the whole story, but let me just say that some of these kids working for border roads died. I went to see one mother. I told her, I said, sister, she was 55 years old, Siamese woman. I said, sister, I'm sorry I've come to you at a time like this. Your elder son, your son died for India, opening the road. Government will give him compensation. I wrote her a check. Doordarshan, whatever money they gave us, we gave it to her. Everybody said we'll give the money. Then I asked her, is there anything I can do for you? She said, sir, you're a special advisor. My younger son has just finished university. Get him a job. So I said to her, I said, ma'am, I have a lot of friends in Delhi. They own big companies. I'll get him a job. She said, brother, I didn't ask you to get him a job in a private company. My elder son died serving India. Let this boy join Border Road so he too can die serving India. I'm not half as Indian as this woman was. I just held her hands. I looked into her eyes and I said, Ma, tujhe salam. I salute you, mother. And should I be born again in India, I would like to be born from the womb of a mother like you. Who can stop India when we have mothers like this willing to sacrifice their children for the sake of India? Now let's see what's happened to the next slide. That's frozen. Right. There we are. Uh-oh. All right, yeah. So, next thing we see here. We handle it ourselves. I said you had floods in Kerala last year, didn't you? Yes. So, which international company came to help you? Nobody? You did it yourselves? This is India's rising self-confidence. And shame on you guys in Kerala. You make the rest of India feel very bad. Because we are not at your level. You are way ahead of the rest of us. Cyclone Vayu in Odisha this year, we are totally prepared. We have this massive thing going on in West Bengal. We don't ask anybody for help. The international NGOs, governments are very angry because today India's hands are not spread like this to ask for help. They are like this to give help to other countries that need it. 1 minute story. Does any of you know what hunger is? You don't. I do. 65 we fought a war with Pakistan, sir. 66 the rains failed. We had famine conditions in India. We made the largest import of food grains in the history of the human race. 9 and 11 million tons we imported. We were living from ship to mouth. Mrs. Gandhi went to the United States. An American newspaper wrote, "New Indian leader comes begging." You don't say things like that for Mrs. Gandhi. She came back and she told her private secretary, India will never beg for food again. People like me had slept hungry. 1 year, 66, we didn't eat on Mondays because we wanted to save food grain. And a 15-year-old kid sleeping hungry is not easy, sir. You have rats jumping in your stomach. But my father was a loyal Indian. He said, no, it's an emergency. She told her secretary, India will never beg for food again. My dear sons and daughters of India, this country that begged for food to keep us alive is today the second largest producer of wheat and rice in the whole world. We are lifting one Indian out of extreme poverty every second. We build one toilet every 2 seconds under Swachh Bharat. Every second we open 2 bank accounts. Every 15 minutes we are building 1 kilometer of highway. I'm not doing it. The people of India are doing it. And do you know something in September? Have you heard of a country called Russia? Do you think it's rich or poor? Rich, big country, strong country. Do you know in September what India does for all the support Russia has given us? We give them a loan of 7,000 crores of rupees, the first time in India's history. I think very clap. You're supposed to clap loudly for that when that happens. And if you ever go to New York, there's Mahatma Gandhi solar park on the UN headquarters, 193 solar panels, one for each country member of the UN. Do you know who gifted that to the United Nations? Your country, called India. So what should I do as an Indian? You young Indians, have faith and confidence in yourselves. Kill your negative genes, not the positive ones. To be born Indian is a lottery of birth. And if you have to be afraid of fear. Be afraid of what? Because there is this Hindi expression, "Dar ke aage." I didn't hear you. Dar ke aage. Jeet hai. Dar ke aage. Jeet hai. Victory lies ahead of fear. Somebody asked Mahatma Gandhi, "Bapu, how do I change the world?" And the sage replied, "Begin with yourself. First change yourself. The world will change on its own." For too long, my dear children, has the destiny of India been written by others. For too long. For 200 years, they wrote our future. Now, I ask God to forgive me for daring to suggest we will write it ourselves so that nobody else can write India's destiny. You make me this promise that you will write India's destiny as our sons and daughters. Do you make me this promise? Yes. I can't hear you. Yes. You make me this promise that you will write India's destiny in your own hands. And I make you a promise. Yes. When I leave my body, there will be a sign there saying, Deepak Vora, Ambassador of India, 1951, the year of my birth, till eternity. And below that, scattered in the dust, silent I remain. When India's bugle calls, I will rise again. I will rise to something. Look at this book by an American diplomat, Elisa Harris, a friend of mine. The title of the book is Our Time Has Come. It's about how India is making its place in the world. And you know in which country this book is a bestseller? In Pakistan. So the 15% of the world's population that rule the other 85%, they don't like you, my dear children, because you have shaken up the world. India is telling them that now we are here and we will decide what happens to us and to the world. So depression, loneliness, we are going to do another little question. Will depression and loneliness rise in the developed countries? India is bubbling with enthusiasm. Deloitte, this big company, have you heard of it? They carried out a survey of millennial attitudes. Millennials are those born between 1983 and 1994, and then there is the generation next, born up between 1995 and 2004. Three questions I want to ask you, and I want all the senior people to turn and look back. I'm going to give you three choices to all the children here. Deloitte asked the same questions. You have three choices what you want to do in the future. Number one, get a job. Number two, build a house. Number three, make an impact on society. Now tell me, give me your first preference. How many would say your first preference is to build a house? Raise your hands. Sir, please look. How many of you would say to get a job is your first preference? How many of you would say to make an impact on society is your first preference? Take a look at these children. Take a look, sir. Take a look at these are the sons and daughters of our country. Sir, who can stop us? Nobody is born today who can stop India. Your national anthem says, "Wo hai Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, he is our fighter of our destiny. We are his soldier." May I ask you a question? Why are we Indians? Sir, why are we Indians? Because we live in India. Why are we Indians, young lady? Because you were born in India, right? We are not Indians because we live in India. We are Indians because India lives in us. India lives in our hearts. That's why we are Indians. Kargil, we just had a reference when the general was speaking, an outstanding soldier. True story, sir. 22, 23-year-old Bihari villager wants to join the army. He's told you can't because both his legs were cut off below the knees in a train accident. People said you are handicapped, you can't join the Indian army. You know his answer? He pulls himself up and he says, "Gentlemen, I have come to fight with the enemy, not to run away from here." Look at the spirit of it. How do you deal with this spirit? We are the brave men and women who work while others sleep. We stay while others run. Come on, my children. Let's build India's pillars deep and lifted to the sun. Let's lift India so high that anyone who looks at us will topple over and fall down, break his leg. I'd like that to happen. At 72, we are changing. The final lap, self-reliance, which has come to you. With that comes self-respect, which has come to us. And then comes self-confidence. How many of you think the European child of your age is more competent than you are? How many of you think we are the best in the world? Take a look, sir. Take a look at this level of confidence amongst our children. Who can stop us? You know what Swami Vivekananda said? The future India must be much greater than ancient India. Swami Vivekananda said the future India must be much greater than ancient India. India is awakening, Swami said, and all of you who were sleeping, you should also now wake up. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your attention. If a Japanese plumber says, I'll come to your house at 3 o'clock in the morning, 10, thank you. If a German says it, scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of confidence? If an American says it, what's your level of confidence? 10, 10, 10. If a Chinese says it, 5. If an Indian says it, 3. If a Pakistani says it, 0. All right. Now, why is it that you instinctively trust the developed world? The default response is trust. And in the developing countries, we are still trying to figure out why the default response is lack of trust. This is what I'm studying and trying to understand. I believe in India now. We are on the right path, particularly the younger people. I hear very little untruth from our young people. You know what? The Mahatma said, if you don't know it, say that you know it. If you can't do it, say you can't do it. That is the biggest victory over falsehood. I believe he spoke a lot of sense. I can't hear you clapping. You need my ears. Alright? And by the way, in over 100 countries that I've researched, breach of trust is a crime. So you have to be very cautious before. If you promise to invite me to your house for dinner and you don't, it's breach of trust. I can take you before the judge. Tell mommy that.
Thank you, sir. Sir, my name is Varsha Vili and
Hi, Varsha.
I'm pursuing CA in ICI Children.
Okay.
So my question is that Kerala has a high unemployment rate of about 12.5%.
Who gave you this rate of 12.5%?
It is in the,
It's in the newspaper. Happy birthday. Go ahead.
and the ironic side is that Kerala is the most literate state in India.
The most?
Literate state
Of
in
course
India.
it is. In the world.
In the world.
Why do you talk about India? You don't belong in many ways to India. You belong beyond all the developed countries in the world. So you make us embarrass the other states of India. Go ahead.
My question is that why does the youth of Kerala does not get the job that they deserve? I mean, most
I
of
mean, why do you want jobs? Why don't you create them? Why don't you go to sun? You have shown the way to the whole world in education. You have shown it in social development. You have shown it in infrastructure development. Now show it in India. If anybody in this country can do it, it's the Malayalis of Kerala who can do it. Some of the other fellows will only talk not the way you do. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Mimi Sebastian. I am from Holiday Institute of Management Studies. Sir, my question is, can you explain about the political environment of South Africa, which is far different from other countries?
Political environment of South Africa.
Yes, sir.
Alright, well, South Africa seems to be in rapid decline. It's sad. There was a change of government from white minority rule to black majority rule in the early 90s, but now what is happening instead? And the reason for that is not far to seek. You know, in any country in the world which is a former colony or ruled by others, when the new rulers take over, they try to emulate those whom they have. And that leads to a lot of corruption. It leads to imbalance in society. We see that happen. India has overcome that after 70. Okay?
Thank you,
So
sir.
India is no longer in that league of mega corruption that we used to talk. Don't worry, Malai Wala will come back, so will Meera Modi. We'll all come back. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Nafia Pierce. I am currently pursuing MBA from Sahodaya Institute of Management Studies. My question is, in today's competitive world, the work-life balance is a bit difficult. You have worn several hats on your life, being an ambassador, being a TV personality, closely working with NGO. So how do you maintain a balance between your personal and professional life?
Manage your time in a way that you give back to your former job, you give them your best. To others that you do, you give them your best. You'll find it works out automatically if you have two qualities. For all of you, whatever you do, have passion and hunger. Passion, you want to succeed in whatever you are doing. Whatever your job. Cleaning a street, being a chartered accountant, being a big business leader, being a politician. Do it with passion, with commitment. And the hunger, we will exceed every expectation of everybody, every time. That's the hunger.
Thank you, sir.
It has to come from within.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, young lady.
I am Sini Shashidharan,
Yes, ma'am.
pursuing MBA from Sahodaya Institute of Management Studies.
Take a nice picture, please. Yeah, go ahead.
My question is, as you have been closely involved with the government, how important do you think there is a need to control corruption in India?
We know this is a very significant issue and the present government that I'm privileged to serve in some parts, we are making a massive effort to curb corruption. Remember always that corruption involves two people. The fellow who, sir, you be the vigilance commissioner, you be one of the most admired civil servants in India. Here, the moderator. You have two people, one who gives the bribe, the other who takes the bribe. If one of them, the bribe giver, says no, the bribe taker can do nothing. And that's what we are trying to achieve. By the way, according to research that we did in government, for every 1 rupee, that we cheat on our taxes, India suffers a loss of 8. Every 1 rupee that we cheat, the nation loses 8. It's not worth it. India doesn't belong to any individual. India belongs to its people. That's it. Yes, Anjali.
My name is Rosna Thomas.
Ms. Thomas.
I'm MBA aspirant from Kerala Agriculture University. My question is.
All this is your question.
So here, more than 90% are gathered here, MBAs and management students. What advice can you give for the growing generation?
For the?
Growing generation.
Do what you have to, chase your dreams, and do it on the basis of 3 pillars. Ethics, ethics, and ethics. You know, at one point, sir, in my life, when I was ambassador in the Sudan, 3 Indian oil workers were kidnapped. Young boys, 27, 28, 29. I speak Arabic fluently, so I spoke to the kidnappers on the satellite phone. They were hiding in the jungle. So I said, listen guys, these are kids, they have to live their life. You take me instead. I didn't tell my government. So these fellows came and said, okay, you travel in the car with us. Said, you first release those guys. So they released the 3 fellows. And then when I was traveling with them, they said, Ambassador, now that you're with us, we get a lot of money from your government as ransom. I said, if they give you 1 cent or $1, you'll be very lucky. So you might as well let me go because you're not going to get anything. As it worked out, they let me go. And then I got what we call, sir, in government service, a rocket. I got a rocket from my boss in Delhi saying you shouldn't have done it. You're the ambassador, you can't go around becoming a hostage. So I said, look, I'm very sorry, I won't do it again. It's not a question of not doing it again. Now hide from the coming storm. Wow, hide from the coming storm. I sent back a 1-line reply, sir, I am the storm. And so he didn't do anything after that.
Good evening, sir. My name is Leon Jogi. I am a CA aspirant.
What is CA?
CA.
Oh, CA. Okay. Oh, you will be hiding all the taxes, right? No, you will be making that pay. Okay.
So my question for today is that I learned that you have been working for Sulfa International.
Sulfa, which is in sanitation.
So how is India going in with the sanitation things? Like,
I think the game is over. We have achieved 100% open defecation-free standards. People laughed at us 5 years ago when we said we'll build 110 million homes. And today all of Africa comes to us and says, guys, how do you do it? So well, we have a technology that nobody has, and that's in our hands. We work with our hands. You know, sir, there was this great Tunisian leader 2000 years ago, a chap called Hannibal Barca. Hannibal's father, Hamilcar, had been killed by the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was the greatest empire in the world at that time. So he called his generals, he said, I have to take revenge. And he had 27 war elephants. I believe some of them were from India. This guy was in North Africa. So he said, I'm going to take my elephants across the Alps mountains, 12,000 feet high. I'll take them across the Alps mountains and we'll beat the hell out of the Romans. His generals gathered in a meeting like this and said, Your Majesty, Hamilcar Barca, you cannot do it with your elephants. He said, why? They answered, sir, because there is no way. And Hamilcar Barca gave an answer that has inspired me from my childhood. My father told me this story. He said, Generals, you are telling me there is no way across the mountains. I, Emperor Hamilcar Barca, do swear on God, I will either find a way or I will make a way to take our elements across. India can make its way anywhere in the world. You heard the chairman of ISRO talk to you about the new satellite that we launched today. Did you understand what he was saying? He said we have now the capacity to locate an object which is only 1 foot wide. Do you understand the military implications? I can't talk about that. The scientific implications, the agricultural implications. Many other countries, when we did this successful launch, their militaries ran to the toilet because we did it. It is an amazing achievement and we have done it today. Today, it has been launched. Okay? So we can do what we want to when we decide to do it. Nobody can stop us. As far as corruption is concerned, can I come back to your question? Sorry, sir. Who asked about corruption? Yes. This is again something very personal that I share. When I was 5 or 6 or 7 years old, I was very naughty, sir. I used to do all these naughty, every kid does naughty things, right, sir? I used to do these naughty things. And I had a dictator in my family, my father. He used to beat me up. There were no child rights business at that time. So my mother, like all mothers, would feel very bad and she said, Deepak, why do you do it? And my answer always was, Mommy, everybody does it, but I get thrashed. She got so tired of that she called a tattooist. I was 6 years. You know what a tattooist is? The fellows who write on your skin and you can't remove it. These days, of course, you can paste it. So she got a tattooist. And on my little butt, sir, on my right butt, I can't show it to you, there are women here. But on my little right butt, when I was 6, she got tattooed something in Latin from the Vulgate Gospel of Matthew, the Bible. It said, Etiam si omnes ego no. Translated into English, it means, even if all the others, not I. I've never forgotten my mother's lesson. Let them cheat on taxes, not I. Let them jump the red lights, not I. Let them tell lies, not I. I've remembered my mother's lesson. Begin with yourself, not I. Okay? Even if all the others, not I.
Good evening, sir.
Do we have time? Sir? Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Andrew.
Why are you so scared of me? Come close to me.
Good evening, sir. My name is Gaurav English. I am pursuing MBA in Engineering Batch from Matai Center, Candidate.
Kozhikode.
No, Thrissur, I am not there.
No, are you in Thrissur or are you in Kozhikode?
I am in Thrissur. You have traveled a lot of countries and you have been ambassador in many
In
countries.
6 countries.
Yes, 6 countries. So, do you think is there any system in any of the countries which India should incorporate for our development?
I believe that India will chart its own destiny. I believe others will incorporate India's system in their way.
You have also been crowned as the Prince of the African
Oh,
tribe.
I was made Prince of an African tribe, yes. And
You
His
have
Majesty,
also
sorry?
been honored as highest civilian award in Sudan.
I got all these awards, they mean nothing. But when I was made the Prince of this African tribe, His Majesty the King said, now you are a prince. I said, yes, thank you very much, Your Majesty. He said, now I want to give you a wife. Boy, oh boy. So he said, to become a prince, you have to marry a girl from our tribe. We'll give you someone who's 6 feet 8 inches. You can have many children with her. I said, sir, I can barely manage one who's in the house. I will think I'll manage the second one. So I said, no, thank you. Then instead of the wife, they gave me 4 goats. So I got the goats and gave them to the Indian army. I said, you have a feast on my name. I barely escaped getting a second wife.
That was my question. How was your experience? You have what
My experience was just that. I haven't seen her ever. Right, go ahead, man.
Good evening, sir. My name is Felicia. I represent the EJ Institute of Management. And as I understand, you have been through the case of trust. My question is, what's your opinion on humanity?
What is my view of?
Significance of humanity. Significance of humanity.
Significance of humanity. Without humanity, you can't achieve anything. Science without humanity is meaningless. And in India, our natural strength is our humanity. We go out of our way to help people. Have you heard that? It means, what does that mean? The visitor is a representative of God. Like when this leader from one one of the African countries came, went to our hospital, Medanta Medicity, we got him repaired. He said, can I see the bill? And I said, Your Excellency, Atiti, Dev, Baba, we'll pay for it, you don't have to pay. But he got a bit upset, he said, I want to see the bill, so we gave him the bill. He took a look at it and he said, oh, 1 0 is missing, it can't be so cheap. So we said, Your Excellency, we are leaders. We might cheat each other, but we won't cheat our guests from overseas. Atiti, Dev, Baba. So he turned around and said, you know, Ambassador, India will be the best country in the universe. I said, do you have any doubt about it, Your Excellency? Of course we will be the best country in the universe.
Okay, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm in Saudi Arabia. So, my question is nothing but...
Your question is nothing. Thank you. My answer is
obviously, first question in your life, like school, college, and in the full service. So, as a student, I'm asking, can advise for dropping education and going to
a formal education is today not so important. This is, you are the disrupted generation. For you it doesn't matter. Just pursue your dream. Do it with passion. Do it with hunger. You will succeed. That's all that happens. So don't go to college from tomorrow. Do what you have to do. And you can tell that special advisor to us. Can I sit down now? Oh, thank you. Now what? Finished? Do we have time? Thank you. Please ask questions. And identify yourself.
And if anybody asks right now, who's your love, I say it's you.
God bless you. Right? You know when a big leader read what is written on my bookstore scattered in the dust, there was water in his eyes. And he sent a message to me. He said, you love your country so much. And I said, sir, I only one country. You have to be one thing to love that very much. If I had another country, my love would be divided. But now I have just one mother. That mother is sorry. I don't have. Yes, ma'am.
Right now my heart is pounding.
Oh, great.
To ask such a question.
I can hear it. Yeah, ma'am, go ahead.
So, you being special.
That's the hard one.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Sharulini, and I represent ISAC DDU GKY. And right now I'm in the student career. And I have two of my colleagues too. So I'm the banking faculty over there.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, it is a DDU GKY project. So, yes, BFS mentors. Yes, exactly.
Please have to be honest, man. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, of course. So you being the advisor, right,
Yes, ma'am.
to many things, and you're talking about the sanitation thing and all that. So one concern that I have, you always said that in all your talks, India is going to be the number one in everything. So to be the number one concern that I have over here is if you see the roads over here full of potholes, and I came from Guruvayur, hope you know Guruvayur. And
Now you're asking delicate questions.
yes. No, I just want one thing, one advice. I've been always, waiting to ask somebody in this level. It's full of
I don't know this
I
level.
know. It's full of potholes and sanitation is so horrible there right now. It's like Shabrimala season. As an individual, as an Indian citizen, what advice do you have to me that I can do to find a way to those people
Just do your best. When you see people litter the streets, stop them. Because someone who tolerates that.
No, I'm not talking about that. It's all, the roads are all, shattered and so full of potholes. And if the water authority takes still like that.
I'm sure the civic authorities will take care of that. You're disappointed?
I'm very much disappointed. It's been years.
Let's go to more point in But I know what you're saying. I
So
understand.
as a layman, What advice do you have for us?
Ma'am, just be patient. Because in 72 years of our independence, when we became independent, the first priority for us at that time was, in view of our rising population, 300 million Indians. 300 million Indians ruled by 3 lakh British soldiers. British were never more than 3 lakh. That is the history of India that we don't forget. The real sons and daughters of India were from here, Mandavana, Nani, Abaka Gowda from Karnataka, Veer Pandya and Poligal from Tamil Nadu. They are the people who also fought for it. But today, ma'am, when we became independent, first thing was food production. Second was control your population. Third was foreign exchange. Fourth was education. We had to go exchange. Now we are coming to the infrastructure. I promise you, give us 4 or 5 years. We give you an infrastructure that people would be amazed.
Thank you so much.
Just give us a little bit of time and
Thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you.
I promise you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, was that you or was that the Chinese? No? Okay. Go ahead.
I'm Aditi Nare,
Yes, Aditi.
Alshri Vidyanithi School, doing my 12th.
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is quite simple. Sir, in all these years, till now, till this moment, are you satisfied with your life, success and what you do?
Am I satisfied with my life?
Success and what you do.
I'm still impatient. There is so much more to be done. Every day reminds me of journeys that I still have to undertake. Am I satisfied with my life being born in India? God gives me a chance. He meets me and says, what do you want? I'll ask for 3 things. I mean this with total sincerity. Let me be born in India again. Let me become an ambassador of India again. And this time, please give me birth somewhere in God's own country again. I would love to. Yes, I'm satisfied with what I've done, but there's also the urge to do much. So let me leave behind our footprint on the sands of love. In a few years, apart from my immediate family, no one will remember me. That's the way our world is designed. That's why I said, scattered in the dust of the silent life. But once India's viewers sound, I promise I'll come back. I will. I can't dream of an existence outside.
Like you said rightly, India, I'm so impressed.
Are you on this side or on my right or my left?
Directly proportional.
Okay, I see you now. Go ahead.
Like you said, Indians see that their guests are God in the sense that they treat people with honesty and humanity. For that, I say thank you. And I'm so impressed with our community here today. I want to just register that my mind has been shifted. Probably considering India my second home to Liberia. I say thank you to everyone.
Thank you. I have been to your beautiful country. When the lady was president, I spent some time there. You've been through a very tough time, but you are recovering. You will soon be a beacon for the rest of us. I don't doubt it. Go back, son. Go back to your country. Build the schools, build the infrastructure. Liberia was a dream. The dream was shattered temporarily. It will come back. Alright? Go back and work in your house.
My job is to sum up the talk of Ambassador Voda. I sum up in just one sentence. All of us are bubbling with positive energy. The entire hall is full of positive energy and full of patriotic feelings and positive. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful session.
He's sweet.
Now, I request Mr. P.K. Vijay Kumar to present a memento to Ambassador Dr. Deepak Voda.
First, let me start thanking on behalf of TMA, Sanjay Gobar and Anupam from Iowa, who is here to help us to make this program a success again. This was the third time we are doing it, and let me tell you, we have 40 colleges over here, and we are close to 2,000 students, which is all India record. And thank you, students, for being here. On this occasion, I would like to congratulate the president of TMA Sony. I think with this leadership quality, without anybody's effort, he put out the show. I am sure all the TMA members will agree that he put out a show so excellent that we have 2,000 students and excellent speakers, which all of us are energized when we go back home. I'd like to thank all the speakers, right from Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, who started out the day, Mr. D.K. Kumar Velu, Lieutenant General Lala Divokar, and of course, handsome, charming, ever charming ambassador, Deepak Gowda. Thank you, sir. I would have to thank our principal sponsor, South Indian Bank, and for Verghese sir for coming and inaugurating today's function. And I think he also enlightened us with his small speech. And I would like to thank D.P. Joseph, our member, who was instrumental in getting South Indian Bank as the principal sponsor. Thank you, sir. Let me take an opportunity to thank our own members and moderators of today's function, Engineer Anand Menon, Engineer Christopher George, Professor Dr. V.K. Vijay Kumar, and last, Mr. V.K. Vijay Kumar, for being an excellent moderator. Of course, I have to thank this Mark panelists for the different colleges. Till the last section, we had our 4 sections and all. We were able to accommodate from all the colleges this time. And I'd like to thank all the panelists. And I'd like to thank the volunteers who have been here from past 2 days. JMC, Elijah, Agricultural University, and Sahaja. Excellent work. We were able to do it on time, right time. Thank you for your effort. All the TMA members, MC members, and other NMA members who are here, thank you for being part of this function. Our MC, Mr. Anantha Raman, and Ranjan, who's actually behind the scene. Actually, they are working behind the scene. It's because of that we have such a smooth functioning of this particular program. Anantha Raman and Ranjan, thank you, sir. And of course, our 2 coordinators, Jesse and Jessena. Registration team, I would like to thank Ranjan Kolanur. I tell you, he did not have his gun, he was making sure, he was counting, and finally achieved a figure of 1,800 plus, close to 2,000 students. And I think Ranjan, a single man, was sitting down and coordinating those, and the students who helped him also. Thank you. I'd like to thank the bronze sponsor, Manappuram Finance, and of course Ranjan was instrumental for that. Jose and the Lulu team, thank you Jose, he is also a member. Excellent food, I think all of you enjoyed today. We are going back to one more refreshment after the tea. Media, Manorama, Matrume, everybody has covered it. Radio FM, Club FM, they have been covering this particular event past 1 week. Of course, we have the Francis Favor and Diction. I have a surprise for you. We have captured the whole day event right from morning 8:30 till now. It's with peace and pleasure. Francis sir, I leave it to you. Thank you for your time and enjoy the show. Thank you for spending time with us. Have a great evening. The tea is served outside. Please enjoy your tea and go back home safely. Good day. Thank you.
Kindly rise for the national anthem, please.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल उच्चल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष